Hi, this is Linda Noss, and I'm back to show you how to do polymorphism and talk about inheritance. Polymorphism is a process we use in Java where we create an object, and in that object we create some methods, and then we share those methods with other objects. The nice thing about polymorphism is it creates a situation where you can reuse code. So just as you have parents, and someday maybe you'll have children, we can create an object that has a parent and a child. And when we create a parent object, or just an object, with methods in the object, then we create other objects and they are children of those objects, they can inherit their parents' methods. And they can individualize them. So very much like you may have inherited some of your parents' DNA, you probably have taken the gifts you've been given and changed them to suit yourself. So let's take a look and see how it's used in programming. So if we go back to the library class, we see that we have our book class and a patron class. And just to review a little bit, the book class had a title and an author. It had a default constructor. It had a normal constructor. And it had a copy constructor. Then on down here we had our accessors, and we had two instance variables, author and title. So for each one of those we have what's called a getter, so get author, get title, and then we have mutators, which allow us to set the title and set the author. And then at the very end we have a little toString method that prints out all the pieces of the book. And then in the patron class we have four instance variables, first name, last name, because this is a patron of a library. So a person who goes in, borrows materials from a library, have a library number, and they have a book. And you can see there's a constructor that sets all four instance variables equal to their default values. In this case we're setting them all equal to null because each one of these is an object. So we're using null as the default. And then down here we have a constructor where we bring four things in from the outside world, and we set each one of those things equal to one of the instance variables. So we pretty much had this set up before when we were learning about objects way back. I think it was in December. So if you don't have this code up, you might want to stop the video and go off and find it. We also have accessors for all four instance variables. We have mutators, and we have a toString method. So that's pretty standard for almost any type of object that you want to create. So that's basically our starting point. So at this point, if you don't have your book and your patron class all set up and ready to go, I would take the time to get that all set up and ready to go. And again, I'm just going to swing through here so you can see all the code. And the patron class is the code here. Okay, so you go to the library and you can take out a book. But there are other things you can take out too. You can take out videos, you can take out audiobooks, and there are probably other things that libraries have too. But we're just going to work on videos and audiobooks. So we're going to create some classes for those. But in general, all that stuff that you can take out from a library, all the different types of things, you can call those media. So we're going to create a media class. So I'm going to go up to new class here, and I'm going to type in media. Well, it looks like I already have one of these, so let me go find it. Oh yes, I do have one, and I have it hidden away right here, all ready to go for you. So here's my media object. And let's take a look and see how I set that up. So a media object is kind of a generic name for any type of object that I can check out of a library. So when I think of a media object, I have to say, well, of all the stuff I can take out of a library and take home for a little while, what do they all have in common? And so I basically came up with two things. Everything I take out of the library has a title. So I created this class with an instance variable of a title. And it also has a checkout date. So when I take something out of a library, I have to return it at some point. So I'm going to create a calendar object, which basically is just a date off the calendar, Gregorian calendar, and I'm going to call it checkout. Now the calendar object is maybe something you haven't seen before or worked with before, but it's essentially a series of methods that allows you to work with dates off a calendar. It is a library. There's a whole library of calendar methods. So we have to tell the computer that we're going to bring those all into our program and work with them. So I have to import my calendar object up here. So I will go ahead and say import java.util.calendar because it's in the utilities library. And you can see that what I've done here is I've created also, just like all the other objects I've created, a default constructor and a normal constructor. Now the calendar object is a little bit different. It's one of those pre-made objects that comes with Java, so that sometimes the rules are a little bit different for those. So I created this checkout object and it's of type calendar. So in order to initialize that, I have to use this wording right here. So basically what this does is when you get an instance of a calendar object, it goes out and it finds today's date. And the date includes all kinds of things. It includes the day of the month, the day of the week, the month, the year, the number of seconds from January 1st, like 1972. It creates, there's a whole bunch of information in there. We're going to just concentrate on the typical calendar pieces of month, day, and year in our programs. But if you go and look at the calendar API online, you'll see it has a whole bunch of stuff in there you can work with. So basically that's how you set up your calendar objects. In our normal constructor, you'll see that I have created a calendar object right here, and I'm bringing it in from the outside world, and I just set my calendar object to that piece right here, and I bring in a string from my title and I set it right there. Okay. So basically I've set up two constructors here. Now one thing that you always need to do when you take something out of the library is you always need to have a return date on it. Some forms of media, like a book, may allow you to take that object out for like 3 weeks. Other forms of media, like maybe an audio tape, they may only allow 2 weeks. And finally, the last form of media we're going to look at is basically a movie. And typically a movie, when you check it out of a library, they allow you to keep it for about a week. So notice what I've done here is I've created a method. I'm going to discuss abstract in a minute, but I've created a method where I'm going to get a return date. And the return date is going to tell me when I need to bring that stuff back to the library. But you'll notice that I did not define the method here. All I did was basically told the computer that I'm going to create this method. So it's kind of giving the computer the heads up, like heads up, we're going to create this method. And because I did not define it here, I just put a semicolon at the end here. It's abstract because it's not defined here. The rules are not put in here. So it's an abstract method. So I have to use the word abstract here. Now because I use the word abstract in this method, it makes this entire object abstract. So you'll see that I did something a little bit different up here when I created my media method. Instead of just saying public class media, I said public abstract class media. And what that tells the computer is that in this object, there's going to be things in here that are created but not completed, such as this method right here. So that's what we're going to go with right here. And this is called an abstract object. And it basically can store, and I can put more methods in here if I want, that can be defined later on. So that's our media. So when I compile this, it seems to work fine. And you'll also notice over here in BlueJ, the word abstract is up here when you have an abstract object. So that is my media object. So how do I use this? Well, let's go back to Patron for a little bit. Now in this Patron class right here, I am allowed to check out a book. So you can see at the top there's this object called book, and it's my book. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this. Instead of just books, I'm going to make this a media object. And I'm going to call it my media. Now because I've changed the name of this, I have to go all the way through my program and find where all the changes need to take place. So I need to change all the books into my media or my media objects. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. And wherever my book appears, I'm going to change it to my media. Right there. Not so worried about missing one because when I compile it, if I don't get them all, it'll tell me. Okay, and then all the books have to be changed to media objects. So I'm going to just copy this here, and I'm going to change all my books to media objects. Media right here, and then I'm going to change get book to get media. So it makes more sense. Set book with the book object here is media. And of course here I'm going to say media. Got that one here. Looks like I got that one here. 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 Right here and up here. So let me go ahead and compile that and make sure it's going to work. Now you'll notice something happens over here. Is when I compiled this, Patron is now connected to the media object. And you can see over here it's connected. The book class, however, is not connected to the Patron anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and take this piece right here. If I do a right click here, I can remove that. Then I can go ahead and compile Patron again. And you'll see that the connection is now just the media. So there I go. So we created a media. Now we've got to define what media is. And media is all kinds of things. As I said earlier, it can be audio, books, movies, books. So the book class is kind of now sitting out here. It's not connected to anything. But a book is really a kind of media. So we can call that a subclass of media. Media is a class and book is a subclass because a book is a kind of media. That's called the is-a test. If you can say that and it makes sense, then you know that it works. So the book is a media object. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a connection between these two objects here. And the way that I do that is I open my book, which is right over here, and instead of saying just public class book, I say extends media. And when I compile that, you'll see that it very happily puts a little arrow there, and now the book is connected to the media. But you'll also notice something over here that's happened. I get this red area over here. It doesn't compile, and it says book is not abstract and does not override abstract method get return date in media. So we're going to have to deal with that, and I'm going to explain that. So let me just close this for a minute and go back to the media class. Okay, so the media class is right here, and you're going to see that I've created this little method right here, but I've never defined it. So this is what happens with parents. Parents can define, or superclasses, as they're also called, can define a method, but then their children have to define it. So that is, so if I have a list of things here that I've just started, the book class has to finish it. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this signature right here, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in my book class. Just go down the end here and add it on. And since I'm going to define the calendar, the get return date method in my book, I'm going to get rid of the word abstract. I'm going to get rid of the semicolon, and I'm going to put some squiggly brackets or curly braces there. So there is the beginning of my return date. Now you'll notice that the return date, get return date method returns a calendar object, but the book class doesn't have a calendar object. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here and I'm going to add a calendar object to my book class. And I'm going to call that today, because I'm going to check out the book today. And because I'm going to do that, I'm going to go ahead and define all these things here. And again, remember the calendar object is done in a special kind of way, because it's from a different library. And then down here, I'm going to also bring in a calendar object here. I'm going to call it C. I'm going to go ahead and compile that to make sure I don't have any errors so far. Oh, so basically what does this mean? Cannot find symbol class calendar. Or again, remember calendar comes from a library in the Java library set. So I have to import that information. So I'm going to go up to the very top of my program and import that the same way I did in the media class. And so you'll see that now when I compile it, it only gets upset about this calendar method down here that I haven't really finished yet. Just to make the computer happy, I'm going to just return today. We're going to come back probably in the next video and work with this a little bit, but for now I'm just going to put that in there so I can compile it. And now you can see that I've added all this in. The one thing I didn't do is I didn't put it in the copy constructor, so I have to do that. Today equals B dot and then I'm going to have to go through and, well, I'm not going to do these just yet. I'm going to leave these right now, but I am going to add in, maybe I won't do this either. So I'm just going to leave this here for now. And I will go back through and do my setters and my getters. So let's go back up and look at the get. So I want to do an accessor for calendar. And I want to put a setter in here for setting the calendar. I'm going to go back and compile this, make sure it looks good. And then I am going to go ahead and put in an additional piece of information in my toString function. Now I'm going to make this the return date because we're going to figure out what the return date is. Right now it's just today, but so we'll just fill that in for now with today, and then we'll come back later and update that. Maybe I'll just put that in there now so it makes sense. Check update is today. Go ahead and compile that. And so that brings us to a point where we've just made some changes in our book class. So what I would like you to do is I would like you to go through and make the same changes that I've made. Add in your media class, update your book class, and then come back and see the second video. Okay, see you in a little bit.